So you have two governments, and one is trying to prove its new leader isn't weak, and the other one is still trying to prove that its old leader is, still the top dog.
Yeah. Yeah. Big dick swinging contest. We got disappearing diplomats, soap opera blackouts, minefields reactivating. I mean, it's like it's pretty hot, and by late July, it's not a question of if there's going to be like an actual war, but just where and how bad it was going to be.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Bro History. It's Henry Zamota and Danny Abdel-Jabbar. What's up, man? How are you?
Chilling, man, as per usual. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, Danny. I'm doing very good. Now let's get straight down to business and do the episode.
Yeah, right. No bantering this time, right?
No bantering or no touching the microphone. I'm sure I will screw everything up again. Okay, so we are going to talk about something that I really don't know anything about. So you are going to be filling us in, mainly you, because I have very little context to add to this topic or historical knowledge. And honestly, the whole event kind of just flew right past me. I only saw it in like Twitter posts or X posts.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, how about that? There's a war breaking out between Thailand and Cambodia. I'm sure it will be over soon. And I saw a couple of rockets, maybe a couple of videos. I'm not even sure because there's so many wars going on in the world that I may have just confused them, and there actually may not be any video footage of this, and I might just be making this up in my head. But I knew it was happening, but it actually was worse or a bigger deal than I think most people understood. So I think as of now, 200,000 people were displaced by this war.
Mm-hmm.
And the coverage was pretty minimal. I'm not sure how the New York Times was covering it, but I didn't really read too much about it. Maybe I just missed it. There was a full-blown conflict between Thailand and Cambodia. And it just completely went under the radar with so many other things going on in the world. So today we're going to break it down, or Danny is going to break it down. So what's going on between this border war, as it seems, between Thailand and Cambodia, and how this escalated so quickly. And first and foremost, what is Thailand and Thailand and Taiwan are the same country, right?
No.
Okay. Just to clear that up. I was a bit
a serious
confused.
Question?
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Thailand and Taiwan, are they the same thing? I'm just trying to speak to the general audience because we may a little bit more context into, geopolitics and world events, but some people may not. Some people may be listening to this, drooling in complete ignorance, thinking that Thailand and Taiwan are the same country. So we should inform them that they are separate countries. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I actually searched for Taiwan a couple times and searched for information about this. So I'm guilty of that. But all right, so let's just break it down. What happened?
Side note, because I think it's really funny that you said Thailand and Taiwan being the same thing. Did you see that a little while ago, about a year ago, the TikTok CEO, Chu Shou-zi, he's from Singapore, and they're like interviewing him on the house floor. And I forgot exactly who is like interviewing this guy, but he was asking the dumbest fucking questions. Like, so are you Chinese? And he's like, no, I'm from Singapore. He's like, have you ever been a part of the Communist Party of China? He's like, I'm from Singapore, bro. And then he's like, dude, you just have to watch this for a second. I might even put this in the video. Or
I've seen it. I've seen it. To his credit, though.
It was Tom Cotton, I think it was. And it was just fucking just how he just, I don't know. What you said reminded me of that for some reason. No, Senator, honestly, I'm from Singapore.
People in our Congress don't know the difference between any of this. I mean, they don't know the difference between North Carolina and South Carolina.
Yeah, unless they're from those states.
They're complete, just, they have the mind of goldfishes, a lot of these people in Congress. But to Tom Cotton's point, that guy is Chinese. He's an ethnic Chinese in Singapore.
Yes, but he's still a Singaporean citizen living in
Yeah,
Singapore,
but like
serving
Singapore is like
in the military for Singapore. It's like saying it's calling me a
So, you said today, as you often say, that you live in Singapore. Of what nation are you a citizen?
Singapore.
Are you a citizen of any other nation?
No, Senator.
Have you ever applied for Chinese citizenship?
Senator, I served my nation
I'm
in
asking-
Singapore. No, I did not.
Do you have a Singaporean passport?
Yes, and I served my military for two and a half years in
Do you
Singapore.
have any other passports from any other nations?
No, Senator.
Your wife is an American citizen, your children are American citizens.
That's correct.
Have you ever applied for American citizenship?
No, not yet.
Okay. Have you ever been a member of the Chinese Communist Party?
Senator, I'm Singaporean. No.
Have you ever been associated or affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party?
No, Senator. Again, I'm
Okay.
Singaporean.
Let me ask you some hopefully simple questions.
to his
It's
credit
just-
though.
It was Tom Cotton, I think it was, and it was just fucking just how he just I don't know what you said reminded me of that for some reason. Just like, no, Senator,
honestly,
I'm from Singapore.
People in our Congress don't know the difference between any of this. I mean, they don't know the difference between North Carolina and South Carolina.
Yeah, unless they're from those states.
They're complete, just, they have the mind of goldfishes, a lot of these people in Congress. But to Tom Cotton's point, that guy is Chinese. He's an ethnic Chinese in Singapore.
Yes, but he's still a Singaporean citizen living in Singapore.
Yeah, but like
Serving
Singapore is
in the military for Singapore. It's like saying it's calling me a Palestinian. Yeah, yes, I'm ethnically Palestinian, or at least half Palestinian, right? But I don't live in Gaza or like the West Bank. I'm not from there. I guess technically I'm classified as a diaspora or refugee according to the UN. I might technically be a refugee because I'm first generation after it, but I'm not from there. I'm an American. I was born here. I was raised here. I live here.
Well, to be fair, Singapore is what, like 30, 40, maybe more % ethnic Chinese.
So
I'm not, and it's a large portion of it. I think Chinese might be the plurality in Singapore, and if not the majority. So there's always people who are going to be accused of having allegiance to the homeland rather than the country that you're in. And Singapore is like kind of like an economic zone. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
Like, it's not like a real nation.
No,
Economic city.
It's a sovereign nation.
I know,
recognized
but
by the
it's
UN.
not like a real nation state. It's like there's how
Sure
many?
it is. Well, what's a real nation state? I mean, we can really get into this, right? Like,
those
what constitutes a nation state, really?
They're ceasing to exist rapidly around the world, but I would say a real nation state is Poland.
Oh yeah.
I'm not just saying that because I'm Polish, but Poland
Okay.
Poland is like 95% Polish speaking. They're ethnically Polish.
Okay.
Like,
So
that would be an
ethno state.
example
Only
of a
ethno
nation
states.
state.
Only ethno states count then.
Well, we're going to get off topic if we go into this debate. I'm
Is
not
it like
saying
you're saying like
ethno states.
30% of
There's
of
not-
Singapore is Chinese, So like
It's a
12% of America
it's a very
is
much
Mexican.
a transnational city with a lot of different ethnic groups, and there's not a strong enough base culture to
Oh,
be
so it's
considered
culture.
absorbed.
Culture's subjective. I don't buy this. You're not going to convince me. Singapore is a UN recognized nation state. 190 or so countries around the world recognize Singapore as a sovereign nation. They have sovereign borders and are part of multiple collections of sovereign nation states. They are a nation state.
All right.
Period.
Let's put a pin in this. Let's.
Yeah.
let's, I think we're arguing over the words, but okay. Let's just get into this conflict.
Sure. So to answer your question from before, the Thailand Cambodia conflict ended. It was short-lived, of course, but it was pretty interesting. Definitely brutal. Definitely, like you said before, 200,000 people displaced. So it was like for real, like hot war for a minute. And you're right. I think the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because like it just happened and then it ended, and then most of the people in the West weren't really even paying attention to it. Clearly, there's a lot of other stuff going on in the world and in politics and in the news, which is why it's kind of easy for something like this to blow up. But I mean, I find it really fascinating because it was a modern war, like an example of modern war. And the whole thing kicked off in late May of 2025. There was this short firefight in an area of Thailand and Cambodia called the Emerald Triangle. It's the if you're looking at a map, and maybe I'll put one up on the screen, but it's a little junction where Thailand, Cambodia, and Laos meet. And this Cambodian officer was killed, and each side of the conflict said that the other one had started it. I mean, you probably heard this before. This is pretty much how every modern conflict spirals out of control. But instead of them talking it out or figuring it out, it just went full blown attack mode. By mid-July, they were shutting down borders. They were banning fruit imports. They even canceled a couple of Thai soap operas on Cambodian TV. Which is, by the way, how you know it's really serious. And then of course they started setting up landmines. On July 23rd, a Thai patrol guy, he steps on a Russian-made anti-personnel mine, and 5 soldiers died. 5 soldiers were wounded. One of them loses a leg. One of them dies. Thai media just basically explodes at this point. They mobilize the military. Cambodia says, "Hey, those mines are old. They're not new. We didn't put those up." And Thailand, of course, is calling it a war crime because mining is, I think, a war crime. And then, the next morning, full-blown war, right? Complete and utter modern warfare. Cambodian troops advanced near this disputed temple site, which we'll talk more about in a minute. And each side says that the other side fired first. A couple of minutes later, you start seeing fucking rockets going across the borders. There are actual, UNESCO heritage temple sites that are getting hit. Civilians are dying. By the mid-morning, Thailand sending in F-16s. At least 6 jets crossed into Cambodian airspace that day to, take down army command posts, and places like a hospital and a gas station set fire somehow. In this chaos, thousands of people flee, and this is just on day 1, right? And the kicker is that this wasn't really about that specific morning, and it wasn't even just about the landmines or some ancient ruins or a temple or something like that. To understand how this war kicked off and why it probably will pop off again soon, you really have to go back, to times where colonies were being carved up, and there was a lot of Cold War proxy, warfare and games being played, and of course there's a 900-year-old temple that was inconveniently placed on these maps that were drawn.
Well, let me stop you there. So, what is this temple? Why are they fighting over this temple? Is it like a strategic site, or is it just like a religious? Does it have religious significance, or are there like lithium deposits under it or something? Why are they fighting over this temple?
Yeah, it's called Preah Vihear. And side note, if I mispronounce these things, I am sorry. I do not speak Thai or Cambodian or any of these indigenous languages, so my bad. Preah Vihear. It's the whole situation's a little bit complicated. But this place it's stunning. It's an 11th century Khmer Hindu temple. It's older than Angkor Wat, which is interesting, and it's built right on the edge of a cliff in the Grek Mountains. And from the top, you can see for miles. It's a gorgeous view. But the catch is that the only practical way to get to it is from the Thai side because of the way that the terrain is, right? So this is like a disputed temple that is important to both of Cambodia and Thailand.
Okay, so Cambodia owns a temple,
right?
But you can only get through the border from Thailand. So
that's right.
Thailand has the parking lot.
Yeah, kind of. And the reason that it's Cambodian, legally speaking, goes back to, of course, some map that got drawn a long time ago by French colonial surveyors in 1908, right? Back then, Cambodia was part of the French Indochina. Thailand was known as Siam at the time. It was the only country in the Southeast Asia that wasn't colonized. But France leaned on them with, treaties in 1904 and 1907, and then they basically end up redrawing the borders of the area.
So they redrew the lines, and then they left everyone else to deal with it.
Yeah, basically. In 1908, they had this Annex 1 map, which was made by the French, and it showed this particular temple, Preah Vihear, on the Cambodian side, even though it's north of this natural watershed line, which probably should have demarcated the border, but you know how they draw these maps and they don't actually fucking care what makes sense, either for peoples, populations, or topography. They just draw a line. And, at the time, that, Thailand claimed that it, should have never formally accepted that map, but they didn't actually do anything about it. Like legally speaking, they didn't protest it for decades after that. So,
Okay, so Cambodia gets their independence, and then Thailand move in and they occupy it. Is that right?
Yeah. So like in the 1950s, Thai troops occupied Preah Vihear saying it was theirs. Cambodia took them to court, like literally the International Court of Justice. In 1962, the ICJ ruled that the temple is Cambodia's, not Thailand's, and basically said that Thailand had to get out. So Thailand begrudgingly complied, but the twist was that the ICJ didn't say anything about the land that was surrounding the temple, just specifically the temple itself. So again, the good land to get to the actual temple itself stayed under Thailand's rule, but the temple itself is Cambodians. It's wild.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like the Israel-Palestine conflict with the Temple Mount / Dome of the Rock, but I guess this is
A little
less. There's more balance between the two powers in this case. So
Yeah.
so okay, so to break this down so it's less confusing, the temple is Cambodian, but the hills around it are Thai.
Correct.
Am I hearing you right?
Yes, kind of. Okay, so for about 4.6 square kilometers of like what's known as scrubland that's right next to the temple. So neither side actually agrees on where the line actually is. So both countries have a different interpretation of the ruling. For Cambodia, the whole area, including those hills, is part of the temple zone, so it's theirs. But for Thailand, only the temple itself counts, but the rest, everything around it, is still Thai. So they're just interpreting the same ruling differently. Because in fairness, the ICJ wasn't clear. The ICJ just said the temple is Cambodia's, but they didn't say anything about the land that was around it. So there's that.
Okay, so you have the two national armies. They're camping out near a 900-year-old temple, essentially in a standoff, but nobody knows the actual line is supposed to be the border. So they can't actually, or it's not agreed upon at this border that's drawn up.
Right. And they do this for literal decades, right? So during the Cold War, kind of cooled off a little bit. Cambodia was a little bit in chaos. They had a civil war going on, the Khmer Rouge, the Vietnamese occupation. Thailand backed in anti-communist groups along their border. So, the temple, Preah Vihear, at one point it was literally like used as a Khmer Rouge hideout, By the 1990s, when Cambodia started to stabilize a little bit more, then this issue started coming back up. So especially in 2008, when Cambodia got Preah Vihear listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So then at that point, that there was a period of time where no one really cared because Cambodia was kind of, a mess. And when they started, cleaning up Cambodia, it became a problem again.
And I kind of know this part of the history. When that happened, Thailand, they freaked out, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't like it. They lost their minds. Nationalists said that, it was like a sneaky way to claim disputed lands. There were protesters that stormed government buildings. Both sides sent troops to the temple. So between 2008 and 2011, there were like legit battles, like artillery duels. There were like soldiers were killed, temples were damaged. Yeah, it was a hot conflict in this time.
Okay, so this skirmish that breaks out is not a skirmish. It's like essentially a war that breaks out over a 3-year period between 2008 to 2011, and then this is what leads up to what we see in 2025. So these armies near this temple, they can't find the line. They're arguing. It's a border dispute. Let's just break it down to what it is: a border dispute with a very culturally significant place that makes it much more hot than, let's say, the border dispute between India and China, which is like, who the hell knows? It's somewhere in the mountains and you can't exactly figure out which giant mountain, what side of this giant mountain is the actual border, where people did actually get killed, but like, no firefight was, wasn't, and India weren't launching missiles and flying planes. So I think I have a
You're caught up.
basic sense of what's going on here.
Yeah. This was basically a prequel. So like 2008 to 2011, you can think of that as almost kind of like the Maidan revolution in Ukraine, or like, that when they took Crimea, something like it was like a prequel to what ultimately boiled down into 2025. And, basically, even after a second ICJ ruling in 2013 that reaffirmed Cambodia's claim to the temple, Thailand just straight up rejected it in 2013. So like the end of that like hot period was a new ruling by the ICJ that just said like, nah, this is Cambodia's, and Thailand was like, nah.
But after that, the conflict went quiet up until 2025, until the summer.
Yep. For about 12 years, yeah, exactly. So for more than a decade, both sides, they were just like, I don't know, quietly tolerating it. A lot of tension there. The area was still very much militarized, but calm, right? So, tourists even started coming back to the area under, the watch of the soldiers that were there. But, underneath that calm was like just this very old argument that was just basically waiting for the right like time, like right political moment, to explode into like a hot conflict again.
So so you got this temple.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of wars. Then the conflict freezes. So what actually, breaks turns this into a conflict again?
Just honestly, everything, all foreign policy is domestic policy. What's that saying? They say it was just domestic politics on both sides. And so there's new leadership in both Cambodia and in Thailand. And there's a whole lot of old grudges that aren't settled, and just enough, I think, like nationalist rhetoric to set it all off.
Well, let's talk about Cambodia, because Hun Sen,
Mm-hmm.
he's been president, or I don't know, what's his title? Is he prime minister or president? Presidente? He's been running the country for a long time, right?
Yeah, super long. He's been Cambodia's strongman since the 80s. He only just recently stepped down in 2023, but he didn't actually really leave. In 2023, he officially handed power to his son, which already problematic, Hun Manet, and this guy actually went to West Point and speaks fluent English and Chinese. Smart guy, but still, like,
That's interesting.
Yeah, Nepo baby for sure. Anyway, behind the scenes, Hun Sen, though, he stayed very much in charge. He became what's called the president of the Senate. He posted up on like on Facebook every 5 minutes, and he made it clear, like, I'm still the guy in charge. Even though technically my son's like in charge, I'm still here. Like, daddy's still here.
And then it was Hun Sen. So when the fighting started, he was like, in the war room, acting like the battlefield general, with maps and like his military advisors.
Yeah, he was doing like
this is what
Kim Jong-un shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, LARPing basically. He used it like that crisis to like reinforce his status, and there's real economic headwinds there too. There was the looming tariffs from the U.S. There was quite a bit of inflation that was carryover from COVID, but just kept getting worse. A whole lot of manufacturing pressure, and then I mean, this served as a perfect distraction for domestic Cambodian politics, right? Like, oh, here's something that we can all rally against the Thais for. Like, fuck those Thais, like they're trying to take our temple or whatever, right? So he just uses it as a political, fuel.
Well, what's Thailand's political situation?
Also a mess. Thailand had been under a military-backed rule since 2014. There was a coup. In 2023, they finally held a real election, and a progressive party called Move Forward won most of the seats there. It's a young, like, reformist, anti-military party. But the whole system in Thailand is rigged. Like, the military still appoints most of the Senate. So this party, Move Forward, got blocked from forming a government. Basically, like, democracy kind of happened, but not really. So instead, power fell back to Pho Thai Party. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. That's the old populist party that was tied to the Shinawatra family. Atra, specifically. This is the billionaire guy that got exiled from Thailand. He suddenly came back into the picture when that came back.
And then I remember him. So he was ousted like decades ago, right? Back in like the early 2000s.
Yeah, 2006. corrupt guy. I mean, is par for the course for Thailand's politics. But yeah, he was exiled, and then just recently, 2023, he was able to come back because his party came back and took power and let him come back. So, but now his daughter, I'm going to say this wrong, Paetongtarn Shinawatra, they call her Ung Ing. She becomes the face of the party. So on the Cambodian side, we got Hun Sen and his son. And then on the Thailand side, we got Thaksin Shinawatra and his daughter, right? It's really like a family affair. They should just get married and make it all one big country, like just settle it the old way. But yeah, by mid-2025, she effectively becomes prime minister of Thailand. She's young, charismatic, but obviously caught in this like power struggle between her base and the very like conservative military establishment. And yeah,
Man, it sounds like two medieval kingdoms fighting.
a little bit. Yeah.
So that's when this leaked phone call happens.
Yeah. So June 15th, 2025, she had a private phone call with Hun Sen to like try and calm things down. But somebody leaked it. And in the call, this is her perfect call, right? Like if she was in the US, she would have been impeached, I think. She ends up calling Hun Sen uncle. That's kind of like a common like thing that Asian people say to men that are older than them that are not actually related to them. They call them uncles, and women are aunts. Anyway, but it's like it's a I don't know how to explain it culturally speaking, but it's like she's trying to be nice to him, like be pleasant with this uncle guy, but he's technically on the enemy, like he's on the other side fighting a hot conflict, or threatening to fight a hot conflict with her country. So it diminishes her position. She's supposed to be like a strong leader. So it looks bad that she's calling him uncle. And then she promises that she'll take care of things. And then to make it like, this is the real nail in the coffin, she starts talking shit about some Thai general. So she's talking shit about a general on her side, and this is, in a country where there's a conservative military that often does coups. I think they might actually have like a record for number of like coups against the government. But yeah, so suddenly, it becomes like this whole mess. It was basically political suicide. And we got these Thai nationalists that accused her of being too cozy with Cambodia, and the army gets pissed because she was talking shit about their general, and her own party starts distancing themselves from her. And then suddenly Thailand needed to prove that it wasn't going to be soft on Uncle Hun Sen, So that's basically how this popped off.
So it's funny that, I mean, it sounded like it was just more of a term of endearment,
Yeah.
like like calling someone honey or something.
I'm not your buddy, uncle. I'm not your
I'm
uncle,
not your
pal.
buddy, friend. I'm not your friend, buddy.
Yeah. That.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you have two governments, and one is trying to prove its new leader isn't weak, and the other one is still trying to prove that its old leader is, still the top dog.
Yeah. Big dick swinging contest. Yeah. And the provocations started to pile up. In February, a Cambodian tourist visited another one of these disputed temples, Ta Muen, and they try to sing their national anthem at the temple, and then the Thai soldiers shut them down. It wasn't violent, but it was like a nationalist offense, to the Cambodians. And then May 28th, there was a skirmish in the Emerald Triangle. There's that. I was saying this before, but a Cambodian lieutenant is killed. Both of the sides say the other fired first, and that could have been it, like a one and done situation. But in June, it escalated super fast, so they started setting up, shutting down, I should say, border checkpoints. Cambodian imports were banned. I mentioned that the Thai soap operas were pulled from TV, which I just think is a funny thing.
Well, you see that a lot in Asia.
Yeah.
Like that's like one of the diplomatic soft power moves is to ban soap operas. It happens all the time in China, between China and South Korea. It happens between South Korea and Japan. Like these are huge. These soap operas have global audiences.
Yeah. It'd be like if we pissed off Mexico and they were like, you know what, U.S., We're taking down Love Island. No more Love Island. We can't see. We're not watching that shit here anymore. Be like that.
Yeah, no more Love Island. We're done. No more Bachelor in Paradise.
No.
In fact, you can't film it here either. I mean, if they canceled, Latin America, Spanish soap operas or Mexican soap operas in America,
Like telenovelas and shit.
yeah,
There'd be a riot. Riots.
Yeah,
in the streets,
Miami
dude.
would burn to the ground.
Southern California.
Washington Heights would burn to the ground.
Yeah, dude. You
if
can't
they did
you can't-
that.
No, you can't do that.
But yeah, I mean, it happens a lot between like K-pop. So China will have a dispute with South Korea, and they'll be like, "All right, well, K-pop is banned,
Yeah, no more K-pop.
or Japanese video games will be banned."
Mm-hmm.
This shit happens. It happens a lot, but a big reason why it happens is because just Asian states, the government has much tighter regulations on TV and entertainment imports.
Yeah.
I actually read back, I was just doing some minor research for this, and I read in 2003, there was actually a riot in Cambodia, and they ended up burning down the embassy, Thailand's embassy in Cambodia, because there was a Thai actress who said that the Angkor Wat belonged to Thailand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just like fucking, just for some random actress says that, and they burn down the embassy. Like they're fucking serious, these guys out there, man. I mean, it's just cultural warfare, and then if we keep back on track, and talk about this specific instance, Thailand starts blaming Cambodia for all kinds of things. Like for example, they were saying Cambodia is like harboring scam call centers and like cybercrime rings. Like suddenly they start like bringing up all their beef, right? And they're throwing all kinds of shit at the wall. Cambodia starts responding by like halting fuel imports and like closing up a bunch more crossings. By like late June, all of the ambassadors from both sides are pulled. Every checkpoint is shut down. And a few days later, Thai forces shoot down 4 unidentified drones near the border. And right about here is when the landmines start to show up. So on July 16th and again on July 23rd, these Thai patrols hit anti-personnel mines. So these are PMN2s, which Cambodia is known to have. Thailand accuses them of laying brand new mines in violation of the landmine treaties, and Cambodia obviously denies it. Some suggest that it was a false flag operation. That shit got real hot. So we've got like these weird ghost drones that nobody's claiming. We got disappearing diplomats, soap opera blackouts, minefields reactivating. I mean, it's like it's pretty hot, and by late July, it's not a question of if there's going to be like an actual war, but just where and how bad it was going to be.
Jesus. So, all right. So July 24th, 2025. This is when the war breaks out. So let's like go over the actual escalation. Like what exactly happened? Let's talk about the military part of this.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, because this is actually the part that I find the most fascinating. We did an episode not too long ago about the hot war between India and Pakistan, and I think these are really interesting to follow, specifically because I'm interested in military technology, but more broadly because I feel like there's a lot of these micro wars that are happening all over the world where I feel like the military industrial complex is testing out and like taking notes on how their tech is working in the actual field, because they're using all of the new shit right now. Like for the India-Pakistan episode and for that war, they were using brand new things, like brand new Chinese fighters are, being fielded by the Pakistani, Air Force and shit. So here it's a lot of the same, right? A lot of brand new stuff, very modern warfare, and people are taking notes. I think it's interesting because I feel like, I don't know, I don't want to jinx anything, but it just feels like a prelude to like a broader warfare, because they're all just testing the waters, All right, so here's the play-by-play. 6 a.m., shots ring out near a place called Prasat Ta Muen, which is one of the temples that are on the border. Cambodian soldiers are seen advancing. The Thais say they opened fired. Cambodians say that the Thais struck first. Within minutes, there's automatic, weapons, small arms fire, and then rockets. And not just one flashpoint. So multiple sectors light up. It wasn't just like a local firefight. It was like very coordinated. The entire border frontier from Ubon Ratchathani, I'm saying that wrong, and Siskak.
Danny, I think you
Sisaket.
mispronounced that.
Ubon Ratchathani, and Sisasket. You can Google those places if you want.
Uban, Ratchien,
Let's, you know what?
all
Let's
the way
just-
down through Surin and Burra.
Yeah, I literally had to write down these names because there's no way I was going to remember this. Let me see if I can find them on the map, and then we'll pull it up on the map.
Yeah, let's pull it up. Let's pull them up on the map so we can visualize the war room.
Because none of this is going to really make any sense until you see it. All right, y'all, this is what it looks like. So, Ubon Ratchathani. This is where we're at. We're in the Thailand side here, right along the border right here with Vietnam. So like right just north of Cambodia. And then if you go all the way down to Sisaket, I have no idea how to say that word, Sisaket. And then also Surin and so let's find this here, Surin and Buriram. So basically the entire southern border of Thailand, or southwestern border of Thailand. Southeastern, my bad.
And this is like a bunch of civilians are there too, right?
Yeah, this is a huge amount. By the way, here's the Priya Vihar temple thing right there, but huge amount of people live here. And yeah, it's pretty crazy. There's another place called Phanom Dong Rock, which is a Thai border town. They take a direct rocket hit. A gas station explodes. An entire family is killed. Civilian family.
Horrible.
Yeah, it's fucking terrible. In the meantime, the Thai artillery starts shelling like a shit ton of places, some land near a hospital in Cambodia's Odar Mianchi province. And they had to evacuate the patients out of the hospital because it was like basically destroyed. Each side starts accusing each other of targeting civilians intentionally, which is, I mean, fucking terrible. But I feel like kind of par for the course for 2025 these days, unfortunately. And yeah, I mean, it gets really bad. And then the Thai Air Force starts to join the fight at that point. So 6 F-16s cross into Cambodian airspace, and they bomb some command posts of Cambodia's 8th and 9th Infantry Divisions. And it is a massive escalation. Cambodia has no comparable air power. So from this point on, it's kind of asymmetric. So Thailand names it Operation Yutha Boden, and it's basically a full-on joint land and air assault on Cambodia. Cambodian troops dig in near temple sites, so Ta Muin Thom, Ta Krabi, they try to hold that ground, and by nightfall, both sides are obviously claiming their own wins, and Cambodian generals say they've captured a bunch of temples, Thailand's disputing it, a bunch of fog of war stuff. That's part of the reason why I wanted to wait a little while before we started talking about this, because I'm not even sure what I was reading, because everything I read was basically conflicting one another. Like if you read a Thai news outlet, it's going to say one thing. If you read a Cambodian thing, it's going to say the exact opposite of what the Thai one said. So kind of hard to figure it out.
Well, do we know how many casualties there were?
I think they're still figuring that out. Dozens are dead by the end of the first day. That is confirmed. But here's the thing. The official numbers are like wildly underplaying it because both sides are kind of downplaying their own losses, which is why I also wanted to wait as long as possible to try to get a final number. And there's still a lot of uncertainty, even like a month out after they've finished. So both sides don't want to admit their own losses. Like that's kind of the issue here. But Thai artillery and airstrikes were intense. And independent estimates suggests hundreds of Cambodian troops may have been killed over the 5 days.
So just to be clear, so Thailand is the more powerful country.
Yes.
So everyone knows, and that's because Thailand has been a U.S. ally for much longer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And going back to this, and this is from what I've seen. Like I've only seen the social media clips, and there's been a couple of bad ones. There were some clips of these Thai civilians. They were mourning dead children, there was another one of like Cambodian soldiers allegedly being captured and then being, it was coming from like a Thai source. So they were obviously being treated well, as part of the propaganda war. And then there's accusations of like cluster bombs. And I think I even saw that they were accusing, and I think it was Thailand was accusing Cambodia. Maybe you can correct me if I got this backwards, but they were accusing them of using chemical weapons and essentially saying that they were committing war crimes. So
yeah, still under investigation, so we can't confirm that. But yes, they were throwing out those allegations for sure.
And that's a pretty, pretty big accusation.
Yeah, I mean, cluster bombs and chemical weapons, those are war crimes, like that's crazy. Yeah.
But it's not out of the ordinary. I mean, they would be able, it's not hard to imagine how they would get them.
No. I mean, they're not like nuclear weapons, right? So they can make them themselves. They're not difficult to make or obtain from third-party sources. But, both sides are painting themselves as victims. And, Cambodia changes a bunch of tactics, and they instead of doing like long-range stuff because they can't win against fucking fighter jets, they try to do close-range engagements. So they try to neutralize a lot of Thai air power by getting super close to the front lines, because then you risk, the airplanes can't hit themselves, they'd be like friendly fire. So they even launched this like armored assault across the line, but Thailand keeps hitting them from the air. They keep, hitting targets that are near this fucking Priya Vihar temple that everyone's like fighting about. They're like close to damaging it, but thankfully, there was a school that they hit apparently that wasn't open that day. Thankfully, I mean, they're just like, it was a hot war. Like they're actually fighting. Like if I would have said just change the name Thailand and Cambodia to like Russia and Ukraine, you wouldn't have doubted it, But yeah.
But now they're bombing schools and sacred sites. It's pretty extreme.
And Cambodia basically ends up deploying Hun Sen's like elite bodyguard unit to the front, and Thailand declares martial law in 8 of their districts, and there's Thai Marines that are deploying naval assets off the coast and waiting for like a coastal threat that never came. And yeah, it was pretty wild.
Well, just like paying attention to this through like the common social media means. So you're right. Like there's like this big fog of war with everything. Like it's harder and harder to decipher like what's going on when these conflicts
so much
play
more
out.
access, but so little at the same time, right?
It's like there's so much more access, but like so much access without context, and then there's so much more like fakery as well.
Yeah,
you can like fake anything nowadays.
Yeah,
you could fake fucking shit through AIs or a more
not
common
that you
tactic.
just use old.
Yeah, that's
footage,
what I was gonna say. Something that's more common is that you just like take. So there was this clip that was used to say like Assad was killing civilians years ago, and the clip was actually of like a gun show in Tennessee.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So that shit happens all the time, and like every side of every belligerent in every war does it. Every like propaganda account, because all these states have their different propaganda accounts. Between Russia, Ukraine, I'm sure, Pakistan, and India, Thailand, and Cambodia.
Everybody
when the war between Ethiopia and Tigray was happening, there was like so much. You had to go to, since these are regional conflicts and they're not as much interest to Americans, you literally have to go to like Twitter to see it play
or Reddit threads or some shit like that. Yeah.
To see these more regional type because this is a regional war, the difference between Israel-Palestine is what makes it a global war is just the total involvement of the United States. That's a common argument you'll hear from people who are like, why do you care so much about Israel-Palestine when there's a war in Cambodia and Thailand? Why aren't you obsessed with that conflict? But these are regional conflicts that don't really have that much to do with the United States. Like I don't know. As Americans, I truly have no dog in this fight at all.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's zero like
no place to
interest
say anything. You just hope that they talk it out and stop fighting, like.
Yeah, there's zero. I mean, when I say interest, like the subject matter is interesting, but
yeah,
I mean, in terms of policy, like what the fuck difference does it make to us?
Right.
What happens there? We just hope that people, the war stops and it's peaceful, but in terms of interest, it's hard for us to really engage. However, you see this fog of war stuff, and this is the point I was trying to make, where you'll see things like, we have 100,000 prisoners. That's a huge exaggeration, but maybe that would have been used in like World War II eras, that armies aren't deployed at that scale anymore. However, they'll be like, we're marching 2,000 prisoners right now. And then you'll find out like that was,
bullshit.
That was complete bullshit. There were some claims, I believe, here that Thailand had captured. Was it they captured like a general, or maybe I'm getting this? I mean, that's how cheap this stuff is that you just like read it and you're like, I think I saw a video of where the Thais, they captured like the Cambodian military leadership, but like that may have just been some clip out of context where that wasn't even the point of the propaganda, but
wasn't
your
even in
mind just
Thailand,
goes to,
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. You're trying to talk about it like that the general that they said that Thailand captured, but then Cambodia comes out and was like, no, he died in artillery strike.
Okay, so that was the case. So there was this thing that happened in Russia, Ukraine early on in the war, and I still don't know the truth of this, of what the hell happened. But there was this Russian general who allegedly was killed, because a lot of Russian generals died early on in the war.
Sure. Yeah.
But there was this one specific general. They were like, "Oh, we got him. We got this general." And then he was like, there was like pictures of him. To this day, you're looking at the guy who they're like, "No, General, whatever his name is, I forget his name. Lukashenko is alive. He's in a picture with the Chechens." And look at this picture and that picture, and I'm like, are they the same guy? Like, I don't fucking know. Like, I have zero clue.
Right.
Be a completely different guy. Like the picture with him in his military attire, like his certainly looks different than this guy, but it could be the same guy. So that shit happens all the time. Like you really, a lot of times when you're looking at these, and we used to cover Russia, Ukraine a lot more than we do now. We haven't talked about it in a long time. The reason why I personally don't really follow the conflict, follow it, but I don't talk about it, is because a lot of times when I'm looking at stuff, like the video evidence, like I won't know what the hell I'm looking at.
Yeah.
There'll be people on the internet who will say, oh, well, based off, how the missile launched, this was this is what's the missile that the Ukrainians use? Just tell me out here.
I don't remember
I'm drawing
any of their
blanks
names anymore. Ukrainian missile. Yeah.
And this launch and hit, judging by the smoke and like the direction of the smoke, it looks like
doing
they
like
hit
a
a ammunition
and shit.
depot. And I'm like, dude, I don't fucking know what they hit. I just see an explosion. Like I don't have the skills, and I probably don't have the time to even develop those skills to look
even
at.
if you
open
did,
source intelligence work.
Right. Even if you did, you also just don't have the skills or the ability to independently verify that what you're looking at is real, right? Or that it was filmed in the same place or time, or in this day and age in 2025, whether or not it's actually real or whether it's AI. AI is getting incredibly convincing, So, yeah.
They use video games too.
Yeah. Huh?
They use, I don't know, I'm not sure if it's Call of Duty or not. I'm not really that, caught up on like the big military games, but I guess what they're Call of Duty, Battlefield, like those are the two biggest ones. They use clips from games like those, and they'll post it up. Like it won't be like one that's obviously like you're
not going to see the heads-up display and your kill count.
But you'll see
like a
some
cutscene or
type
some
of
shit
footage,
like
a plane, and you're like, oh shit, and then you'll figure out, oh no, this is actually from Battlefield 3.
Yeah. Yeah. Battlefield 3 is pretty old, but I hear what you're saying.
or Battlefield 4. I don't know which one they're. I
Whatever,
know there's a
whichever
new one
new
coming out.
Battlefield. Yeah.
Whatever the last one that came out was.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard. And not to sound like a gatekeeper, because there's people's like, how do you talk about this stuff and you're not an expert?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I know where my strengths are, and it's more so talking about more like the political and cultural of the equation. The military part is it's very hard to decipher. And like a lot of the people who are experts, who are quote unquote experts on these things, and I'm sure that, I mean, a lot of them do have like the pedigree or
Mhm.
expertise, like they have a military experience. They get the shit wrong too.
Yeah.
They're always fucking wrong about this stuff. Like,
Mhm.
man, like I don't know how many times I heard that, and I used to parrot this, and now this is one of the reasons why I don't do it, is that Ukraine's going to fall in 3 weeks. Ukraine's going to fall in 3 weeks. Ukraine's going to fall in 3 weeks. And I'm like, well, all these generals are saying that Ukraine's going to fall in 3 weeks. That's probably going to happen. But
still
then on
here.
the other side, you hear the same shit. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, well, Ukraine's counteroffensive is about to take over Crimea. And you're like, well, that doesn't really seem likely as well.
No. Yeah.
So I'm sure there's merit to some of these guys and who do dedicate a lot of time and create good content, but there's also a lot of fucking posers who just make
Yeah.
shit up.
It's definitely a super interesting wrinkle of modern combat, I think, just the social media aspect of it. You know, the fact that we have so much more information, but also so little information at the same time, somehow. It's wild. It's wild, man. But let's put a pin in this and kind of get back on track, because I'm getting a little late here. But you know, July 27th, this is towards the end here. You know, momentum stalls. There isn't like any side that's particularly winning or advancing meaningfully. Everyone's like fucking exhausted. They've been fighting for several days at this point. And international pressure is building. By international pressure, a lot of it is like Asian pressure. So ASEAN, ASEAN's chair, Malaysia steps in. The US and China get a little spooked at this, actually, and they start nudging a little bit. And then pretty unlikely Peacemaker, you know, Donald Trump, he pops out of the woodworks, and, you know, from Mar-a-Lago or wherever he was, he tweets, you know, that he's personally calling the leaders to broker peace, just like he, you know, claimed to do with India and Pakistan. And honestly, nobody knows if it helped or not, but, you know, it shows how weirdly global, you know, and by global, I mean like, you know, policy want global, not like, you know, everyone in the news is watching this shit, but the people who matter in state departments, you know, all over the world are like, hey, we don't like this. Y'all need to stop fighting. And so a lot of parties get involved, and, you know, they kind of start talking.
Yeah. And, you know, Trump's the peacemaker.
He's going to get that Nobel Peace Prize.
My president, he's the peacemaker. Just like Teddy Roosevelt. Just get the Nobel Prize. Okay, so there are talks July 28th. They're hosted in Malaysia.
Right.
Derek, you will kill the Prime Minister of Malaysia. And both sides show up. China and the United States send representatives. And they do get it done because there is a ceasefire.
Yep.
And that took place a few weeks ago, or July 29th.
About a month ago, yeah.
And after this ceasefire is accepted, both sides start to accuse the other sides of breaking it.
Yep. Pretty much immediately. Cambodia claimed that Thai forces abducted 20 of their soldiers during a peaceful disengagement. Thailand says they're POWs and treated them humanely. They even make the prisoner of war like swear oaths on video not to fight Thailand again, which is kind of fucked up. And Cambodia goes ballistic, of course, but despite that flare-up, the ceasefire actually held mostly, which is interesting.
Okay. But in terms of so we had dozens dead when the conflict first started. So by the end of this, do we have, is the casualty number still like completely in the fog?
Yeah, a little bit. It's getting clearer. I think there's like 43 or so, 43 or more are officially dead. Of those, I think it was like 8 to 12 civilians were killed. Wounded, it was upwards of 120. Unclear on the breakdown between the civilians and soldiers. But again, I want to point out that it's entirely possible this number rises in like a couple of months by like a lot, because and specifically like by people who died that were in the armed forces, because neither side wants to. Both Cambodia and Thailand are in weird domestic political situations right now, and neither of them want to go to their, collective governments and be like, yeah, well, we lost 200 people in this 5-day war. Like none of them want to do that right now. So I'm sure the actual truth will come out like sooner than later, but a lot of what I've been reading is suggesting that these are lowballed numbers.
And then now there's a lot of animosity between Cambodians and the Thai.
Yeah. I mean, if there wasn't already.
if there wasn't already, what we should do as a follow-up to this is that we should get like a very extremist Thai nationalist and a very extremist Cambodian nationalist. And then, everyone's having these debates and they're different shows and they're like, let's debate me. Let's debate Israel-Palestine. Let's do it. Let's
debate Thailand, Cambodia.
Let's do a debate. We'll host a debate between a Taiwanese nationalist and a Cambodian nationalist. Excuse me. I told you I was going to do it. I told you I was going to do it from the early on, from a Thai nationalist and a Cambodian nationalist, and like they don't even need to speak English. We'll get
ChatGPT to translate it. Yeah,
translate it over it, and we'll egg them on. We'll even tell them that, like, hey man, he called the guy before in the lobby. He was talking about how, Thai is a bunch of lady boys there, and
just like,
and then I'll go to the Cambodian guy and like, hey, this Taiwanese guy said that you eat dogs, and I'll have them. We'll like make this huge spectacle of it where they get into huge art, like they start screaming at each other, and then we'll just have the translator in the back.
Mm-hmm. Sit back and watch. Yeah.
I think that's would you be interested way to make this YouTube channel grow, right?
Mm-hmm. Just foment anger.
Heated debate.
Yeah.
And then having like captions like "You're lady boys." Is that?
Would you be interested in that?
Would you all be interested in that form of content, to have like a Pierce Morgan style debate?
Yeah.
Between a very hardcore Thai nationalist and a very hardcore Cambodian nationalist. And we'll get like Russian roulette involved in here somehow too. We'll have them play Russian roulette. All right, this is going overboard. Okay, so I imagine this thing, the way that just the historical context of this, it seems like this is just like completely, this peace doesn't sound like it's going to last too long.
Yeah.
Like the truce is very, very fragile. The border issue is not solved.
Yeah, exactly.
This temple is now no longer, monks aren't guarding it anymore. Now it's guarded by soldiers.
Right.
So what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, that's an important point, Henry. Yes, they have a ceasefire and it's holding so far, and that's awesome, because it was really, 200,000 people were displaced, on both sides of the border. So this was like a very disruptive war, and people died. But they didn't solve anything. Like they stopped shooting each other, but they didn't solve anything. They have no agreement on that border demarcation. There's no reparations on either side for any reason. Cambodia wants to go back to the ICJ. Thailand says forget it. Even UNESCO hasn't said whether, they'll open Priya Vihar to tourists again at any point. So, they didn't resolve anything.
Okay. So we shouldn't be traveling to, what was the name of that town? Dung Rak. We have a travel advisory to Phantom Dung Rak, everyone.
Don't go there.
No travel to all you citizens. If you are in Phantom Dung Rak right now,
just come back.
Evacuate.
Leave.
This is a high risk region.
Oh man.
So this is the warning.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't even know where we are right now. Okay, so there's no peace treaty. We just have a ceasefire and time out.
Mm-hmm.
Are we still at uneasy peace? Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
I scrolled up to look at the name of that town. That's why
you got
lost myself.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no peace deal. We just have a ceasefire. I mean, essentially the ceasefire was signed under pressure from like the U.S. and the Chinese.
Yeah.
And I mean, the only thing that like it would prevent it would be, the international community, really.
Mm-hmm. 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 And honestly, they're back to starting, like staring at each other and saying like, "Hey, here's the line. I dare you to cross it." Like that's where we're at right now. There's still troops on the border. And the temples are still closed. The border crossings are still closed. It's yeah.
And then, it's a trust issue, really. It's or lack thereof it.
For sure. Yeah, I think you can take like the temples, for example, like Priya Vihar, Ta Muan, Ta Krabi. These aren't just like ruins. These are, for these people, like national symbols, and each side sees them as sacred. But instead of like, sharing that heritage, they've become kind of like trophies. Like, oh, Cambodia has Priya Vihar and Angkor Wat. Like it's a pride thing for them. And any suggestion of like joint managing especially the ones that are on the border, that's like political suicide on both fronts,
And that goes with the maps as well, because so Cambodia, they're going by the French borders and the ICJ borders, and then Thailand says that those are rigged.
Yeah,
and to the international courts don't get to decide where the borders start.
Yeah. They just adjudicate shit. And when Cambodia appealed to the UN after the war, Thailand basically said, we don't recognize your case. So we're stuck still. About 27% of the border is not demarcated, meaning like any patrol or drone or even tourists, that are in those areas could spark another go about it. Because imagine if 27% of the U.S.-Mexico border was not actually like physically demarcated, like still in dispute. Can you imagine that shit?
Yeah.
We would permanently have like soldiers down there permanently. We'd be, if it was us, we'd probably just say, fuck you guys, we're taking it, because we're much stronger. But, it's 27%. That's more than a quarter of the entire border is not clear. That's a lot, It's a lot of land.
Yeah, that is a lot of land to have to be left to be so uncertain. And now with Cambodia and Thailand, I'm sure like they're neighbors, so they obviously there's trade. So those economic ties aren't coming back together soon, or maybe they will. But I know that there's a lot of Cambodian workers who, essentially are, Cambodians rely on remittances from Cambodian workers who are in Thailand.
Right.
And I'm sure a lot of those workers are afraid to come back.
Yeah.
And Thailand, again, there's some huge accusations of war crimes going on. Thailand went as far to link Cambodia to crime syndicates.
Yeah.
They were calling them human traffickers.
Yeah.
And they had cyber crime gangs, even like the call center shit. The call center stuff is like actually a pretty big deal when it comes to cross-border relationships. Like one of the big gripes in Russia-Ukraine is that the Russians accuse the Ukrainians of running those in Russia and like ripping off old people from their pensions and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's like it's like a bigger accusation than I think what most people realize. Because imagine if we got, it sounds funny on the surface, but like imagine if like your grandma got like fleeced from some call center from Mexico.
Yeah. Yeah. You wouldn't be very happy with Mexicans, right?
And it's just like it leads to that broader mistrust between the nations. Are there any silver linings here?
One small thing, in August, there was a high-level diplomat, a couple of them that met quietly in Shanghai, and this was facilitated by China. And it wasn't particularly a breakthrough, but it was something. Beijing has like serious influence in Cambodia and also really strong like business ties in Thailand. And so I think if anyone can nudge them towards like something positive, it's China. So it sounds like they're having some back channel talks right now, like as we speak.
Okay. So, assuming that doesn't make the ASEAN, or do you pronounce it what? The ASEAN.
Mm-hmm.
Do you just pronounce it Asian, or?
I think so. I've never heard it spoken. I've only ever read it. ASEAN, Asian, I think it is.
So, assuming that doesn't make them more paranoid about Chinese overreach.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because they're already weary about China in the first place. So there's also though talks about pulling back heavy weapons from the frontier. And that's pretty good. So like pulling back some of those artillery units, pulling back some of the armored vehicles. That could be very helpful. There could be joint monitoring posts. There's not like a lot of real progress, but there's whispers and shit. In Cambodia, Han Manet now, he likes to pretend like he's a wartime leader. He got that, that's the son, not the uncle. But his dad, Hun Sen, he came out, looking like, oh yeah, he's not the president anymore, but he's the strong military, general guy who saved us from the evil Thai people. And their dynasty is pretty intact, I think, in Cambodia.
Well, unfortunately, what's her name? Paitangam Shinawatra?
Oh God, Pei Tong Tarn Shino. Yeah.
Paitang Tarn. Unfortunately, I have some bad news. Paitang Tom Shinawatra is ruined from this.
Yeah.
I don't think that she's ever coming back. Paitang Tom.
Say it again.
Hey, I can't say it without sounding like I'm derogatory, like I'm making fun of Asian people. That's the thing.
I know.
So I'm just avoid saying it.
Yeah.
Altogether. Paitangam Watra. So publicly embarrassed, reputation ruined, dynasty destroyed.
Yeah.
However, the Thai army must be feeling vindicated.
Yeah.
And they can point to this war as a proof to their relevance. So
yeah,
any future Thai government's going to have to tread pretty carefully with them, because the army ultimately is going to hold the veto on the border policy. So basically, both countries came out of this with I guess greater national identity and just more unresolved issues.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like there's really any incentive to compromise on this.
Yep. No one won and no one lost, really. And that's kind of the most dangerous piece, because, it's the kind that just holds up until it doesn't. So until the next mine explodes or someone decides to claim the wrong temple, I'll keep watching this and see what happens.
All right. Well, I think we're done, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for listening to another episode of Bro History. It was a pleasure. This episode for you all. Make sure that you rate and review the podcast. It is the number one way to support our show. And subscribe to the YouTube channel. If everyone who listens to this show on Apple and Spotify just like went to the YouTube and subscribed to it, that would make the YouTube channel grow a lot. So just do it if you're listening. But still listen to the Spotify and still listen to it on the audio app, because we get paid more for that. But we're trying to move to the YouTube, so do that as well. Anything else, Danny?
Nope.
In Substack, I'm sure there'll be a longer version of this episode to cut out a lot of the things that were said that probably can't put on air. So go to Substack to listen to the full unedited version, which are a bit longer and have more
spicy
segues
stuff.
And probably more offensive content. All right.
Yeah.
Peace, guys.
Peace.